Welcome, GCU Lopes, to part one of our multi-part series on the science of reading. With us today is our panel of experts from GCU's College of Education. I'm Leslie Foley, joined by Claudia Coleman, Amanda Errington, Michelle Kiso, Danielle Ramitawa-Essay, Katie Sprudy, and Dr. Stephanie West. I'm so excited for some rich discussions on the science of reading with my colleagues and friends, so let's just dive right into our first question. What is the science of reading? Michelle, can you tackle this question for us?
I sure will. The science of reading is a hot topic in education, and in the opinion of this panel, we believe that the comprehensive body of research on the science of reading is a benefit to both teachers and students. And it may feel like the science is new, but it's really not. The term has been used in educational literature, well, since the beginning of the 20th century. And although teaching reading has always been an academic priority in classrooms, increased attention on why and how to teach reading occurred after the National Reading Panel released a report in 2000 offering conclusive evidence that phonemic awareness and phonics were foundational and critical to reading success. The report also identified the necessity of fluency and vocabulary and direct instruction in comprehension. In addition, the National Early Literacy Panel examined almost 500 studies in the mid-2000s to determine which reading skills need to be taught early on, and phonemic awareness and phonics were the clear winners. Now, Scarborough's rope is often referred to when discussing science of reading because it identifies the critical components of skilled reading, which are, as you can see, word recognition and language comprehension. And phonics, decoding, and phonemic awareness are included in the word recognition rope.
Thanks, Michelle, for that comprehensive review. It's important to note that while the science of reading is gaining in exposure and awareness and popularity, it's not a new concept. As you mentioned, it is an interdisciplinary research that has been conducted over the last 5 decades across the world. So thanks again, Michelle. Our next question is one that I hear quite often. Michelle and Amanda, can you try to answer the question, is the science of reading only about phonics?
Well, let's first talk about what is phonics. Phonics refers to instruction in the English alphabetic system, which includes sound, symbol, correspondences, allowing a reader to decode from print to pronunciation. Non-readers become successful readers when phonics is explicitly taught systematically, and it includes a predetermined and logical sequence to teach the 150 spellings of the 44 sounds in the English language. In addition, we know that repeated modeling and practicing of decoding and encoding using connected text is a win for our students. Now, one of the strongest predictors of a student successfully applying phonics to increase their reading proficiency is phonemic awareness. And my colleague will discuss this.
Thanks, Michelle, for that breakdown on phonics and connecting to phonemic awareness. I'm really excited to share an overview of how the science of reading has essentially revived this importance on phonemic awareness instruction. So let's start with defining phonological awareness, which is the ability to identify and manipulate units of sound. So as you can see in this visual here, we're talking syllables, onsets, and rhymes. Now, phonemic awareness does fall under this umbrella, as you can see from the graphic. And phonemic awareness is described as how sound functions in words, specifically manipulating phonemes, those individual sounds. I want to talk about some key takeaways in terms of science of reading and phonemic awareness. So phonemic awareness and phonics are complementary. It's not this or that. They should be woven together with other areas of literacy. Berkins and Yates has a book out that is phenomenal, and they describe a recommitment to phonemic awareness by providing students robust and intentional instruction. Now, it doesn't mean boring. This means that we can have fun, engaging, and interactive instruction and practice, especially because these are our youngest learners. The phonemic awareness tasks that are described down here should be practiced daily in a structured routine, which I'll be talking about later. And I want everybody to tune in to our next episode of Phonemic Awareness Science of Reading, where I talk about these phonemic awareness tasks and strategies more in depth. One thing I want to note is that phonemic awareness doesn't need an expensive program because it does not involve print. It's solely auditory. So I wanted to put all of these pieces together when it comes to phonological awareness, using our word of the day, block. When you're thinking about phonological awareness, you're thinking about the parts of the word. What words rhyme with this word? Beginning sounds. Then moving into phonemic awareness is where you manipulate those individual phonemes. And taking all of that background knowledge, moving into phonics is where you start seeing that sound symbol correspondence, moving into decoding, encoding, which later plays a role in fluency, comprehension, and vocabulary. So.
Thanks, ladies. Amanda, I appreciate that focus on phonemic awareness because it is a skill so often forgotten or underrepresented in the classroom. I like that you mentioned that phonemic awareness activities can be quick. They can be short 1-minute activities used to build sound awareness. And I'm certainly looking forward to episode 2 to hear more about phonemic awareness and some specific activities that can take place in the classroom. Thanks, ladies. Okay, next, let's look at a practical application. Dr. West, what does the science of reading look like in a classroom?
Thank you. Well, there are 5 key components of science of reading instruction, and we talked about a couple of them, the phonemic awareness and phonics, and then we add in the vocabulary, comprehension, and fluency. Historically, our reading instruction has been a step-by-step process. We've counted on these incidental teaching moments, you know, the aha moments. But now with the science of reading, it's very intentional. We need to be intentional with our instruction by planning systematic blocks of time, things that we go through from start to finish, and where it all fits together. So when you're moving your instruction with reading, you're using rich, complex text. You're doing reading blocks, multiple reads, teacher modeling, student practice, small groups and partnerships. There's going to be a lot of student voices in the room. And the teacher student with the high quality conversations. So you're going to be modeling as an instruction, you're going to be modeling how it's read, what it sounds like, modeling that fluency, modeling the comprehension, and being very intentional about everything you do step by step throughout the process. One other thing, if you want to look up some ideas for implementing the 5 areas on my blog post, our Loops for Literacy blog post, I have a whole blog post that lists activities for each one, 3 or 4. So something else to look at when you have the time.
Great. I think the most important there was your focus on instruction being intentional. I think you said it about 4 or 5 times. Reading instruction should be intentional, systematic, and done with fidelity. So definitely some active and multisensory components to incorporate into that instruction. Thank you, Dr. West. Okay, so now we have a solid foundation with the science of reading, but how can I locate a research-based curriculum that includes the science of reading? How do I know? What should I be looking for in a curriculum? Claudia?
Well, I am so glad that you asked that. First of all, you mentioned it, fidelity. We definitely want to start with fidelity, and let me explain really what that is. So fidelity means that I like to think about it this way. When you're doing research and you want to get the same results and you're going to duplicate a study, you're going to do the same research steps by step. You're not going to skip anything. And that's the same thing with our curriculum. Whatever curriculum we have, it is important that we follow step by step and we are all doing consistent we're using the strategies consistently and the curriculum consistently so that we can get the same results. So with that, go ahead and you can go to the next slide here. The Reading League has offered a wonderful tool that we can all use. to evaluate if our curriculum is, if it is aligned to the science of reading. So they have this wonderful tool that has green and red flags, and it goes along with everything that we just spoke about: word recognition, language comprehension, reading comprehension, assessment, and writing. At the bottom, you can see here that I included this link. It is important that everybody go in and register, because it is a living document. That means that anytime that there's a change, they will go ahead. If you are registered with them, they will let you know that there's a change in the evaluation. So let's go ahead and go to the next one, and I'll show you how they use the green flags and red flags. So here is word recognition, which has what we were just speaking about, right? Phonological and phoneme awareness. So if we look at our curriculum, let's say we have some material like the ones that we see here below, looking at syllables, word families, some onset rhyme, and then some blending. So first of all, you need to understand that it's not that the curriculum has to have all the green flags. It's just that if the majority of the flags are red, then you know you have to go back and reevaluate. We can see here that our instruction includes, in this first box, our instruction includes phonological awareness, syllables, rhymes, and it also goes and moves into the phoneme level, which has the blends. In the second box, it says instructional includes all phoneme awareness tasks. Do we have isolation, blending, segmenting, and deletion? So if we don't see that in here, because we just have these activities. However, in your curriculum, if it's scripted in there for you, then you would mark it as a yes. Then the third box, is it accurate and sorry, I'm getting all rambled here. Is it accurate or automatic skills for students in kinder through first? If it is, then we mark it as a check, a green box. In phoneme awareness, is it taught directly, explicitly, and systematically? In here, I'm assuming that it's not. I'm not seeing any curriculum that's telling me step by step how to introduce this. It's not explicit, so I'm marking it with a red flag, and so forth. If we go to the next slide, we can see how it will look if we have everything. So now I have explicit instructions, it's evident. Also, I now have assessments, and I have a regular monitor of assessments that I'm going to be doing with my students. So now I can see that my flags are there. I'm checking each one and going to see if my curriculum matches the flags that are in the tool put out by the Reading League. So once again, it's very important that we go and use what we have already created for us. Sign up at the Reading League, which is that first slide that we were first at there. Yep. And sign up so that way if this document ever does change, they notify you right away. But this is a great tool that we can use to see if what we have at hand is aligned to the science of reading.
Wow, what a useful website, Claudia. I like that this allows educators opportunities to supplement with additional resources to best serve all students. You know, if their current program isn't meeting all those check boxes. And I also appreciated your emphasis on fidelity. So remember, all of these curriculums should be done with fidelity. So thanks, Claudia. Amanda, what is structured literacy and why is it so important?
Thanks for that question. And I felt that I was led up to this very, very important topic. And Claudia really hit the evaluating your evidence-based curriculum. But I just want everyone to know that no matter what curriculum your school or your child's school has, a structured literacy approach is essential for student success. And so it's important for the needs of all learners. So I wanted to start, if you don't mind, Leslie, I wanted to start with the why structured literacy is important by looking at this infographic from Nancy Young's Ladder of Reading and Writing. As you can see, these descriptors here show the various types of learners that we'll find in our classrooms. And the percentages are just percentages. They're not exact because we're dealing with humans. We're dealing with little humans here. And so it's really important to note that there are various types of learners. And whether it's our struggling students, our on grade level students, or even our students that are ready for enrichment, a structured literacy approach is key to literacy success. So there's no one size fits all when it comes to structured literacy. It does start, however, with assessment. Data-driven instructional decisions are key when it comes to structured literacy. A teacher is going to take that assessment as well as all of the elements of literacy. So we're talking reading, writing, listening, speaking, vocabulary, and fluency, and they're going to weave them together explicitly and systematically. And I feel like we've heard those terms a lot in this discussion, and you will continue to hear those terms. But they really are the heart of science of reading and also the structured literacy approach. So I thought that we would break them down, and I would show you some visuals just so that we're clear. So let's start with the how. So explicit instruction is the use of structured and sequenced steps. So it's oftentimes referred to as direct instruction, but it's really how the teacher explicitly breaks down a concept. So for example, in this anchor chart here, you see the teacher is going to break down and explain why the C makes a soft C sound, like in the word city, and why does the C make a hard C sound, like in the word cactus. And they're going to break down that concept, give modeling, and give a lot of opportunities for practice. That is explicit instruction. Systematic is that plan or scope and sequence that guides the teacher. They use that assessment and they guide their learners through learning goals. Now, I will tell you, I have searched far and wide for the scope and sequence. There is none, so don't search. But what you'll find is your curriculum, the standards, and also research say that a systematic instruction starts with less complex tasks like initial sounds, short vowels, and then using assessment, cumulative review, and formative assessment moves through more complex concepts, like down here where we're getting into R influence vowels or contractions. So it is very important to continue to monitor that instruction with assessment. So lastly, something that is really important with both instruction as well as intervention, if students are struggling with the concept, is the use of multisensory strategies. So I don't know if you've seen a lot of multisensory in the classroom, but it's where you incorporate various senses to teach a concept or to intervene. So we're talking auditory, kinesthetic, tactile, or even a mix of both, right? So here are some examples. We have air writing. You might see sandpaper letters, like in a Montessori classroom, sand, echelon boxes, and you'll see tapping or counters. So those are various multisensory strategies that are incorporated into structured literacy. So that's a lot, right? That's a lot that goes into structured literacy, and there's a reason for that. It takes time, it takes planning, it takes collaboration with so many people in the school and families, and it takes intention to provide just the very best literacy instruction and environment for all students.
Thanks, Amanda. There's that word intentional again. Just can't get away from that word. But you highlight the importance not only of a strong curriculum, but even more important, the knowledge and the skill set of each individual educator. The International Dyslexia Association says that structured literacy is good for all students and essential for some students with reading disabilities, such as dyslexia. So thank you so much for that, Amanda. Dr. West, what is a piece of advice that you would give to a district or school leaders who are working to improve how literacy instruction is taught in a classroom?
Leslie, this is so important. As school leaders, we're the face of the school. And the school leaders, we need to understand exactly what the science of reading is. So they need to learn about it, school yourself, get the proper training, be a part of the program. Analyze and adjust the assessments. Analyze the assessments the schools are using and determine what the goals need to be focused on. What are the focus? Determine the value of each. Analyze the curriculum and secure the resources. You know, we can't really teach the science of reading without good curriculum and good resources. So build that right into your program with the science of reading. Hire literacy coaches and reading specialists if you can. Redesign schedules so you have that allocated uninterrupted time for 90 to 120 minute reading block. If possible, include a staggered intervention block across grades to provide that peer support so we can have the support of our colleagues. Provide ongoing professional development. You know, reading is the foundation of everything. And so our professional development and everything should be focused first on the reading and then on the other concepts. And then become a part of the reading program. Be a part of the reading program and be aware of what is being taught, how it's being taught, and how it's being involved in the classroom. And then be in the classroom. Be the face of the school for the students also. Be the face of the reading program. And then parents, you know, understand what these 5 components of reading are. Go through it, learn what each one is, what each component is, and talk to your kids. You know, read to them, talk to them, find out what they're learning in class, and reinforce it at home. The reading at home is so valuable. The kids need to see you modeling and that reading is important, because reading, again, is everything. Everything is a word. Everything takes reading. And you should be reading to your kids and help them explore that world of reading and the knowledge of words. And then reread too. Every parent knows how tiring it is to read stories over and over. But the children, especially the littles, this is how they learn. They learn to read by repetition. They start to memorize the words and they memorize what's on each page. And my 2-year-old grandson now is reading Brown Bear, Brown Bear. He knows the words. He knows the story. So when he changes the pages, he knows what to do. And that's the first experience of them reading. So always the repetition of reading is so key in your homes.
That's some great advice, Dr. West. It is so important for administration to support not only teachers, but also to become an expert themselves. I also appreciated your stance on showing up. It is really a team effort. It should be a collaboration between parents, teachers, and administration. And the PD opportunities you mentioned translate next to our next question. Katie, what are some professional development opportunities that are available to educators who want to learn more about the science of reading?
You know, as Michelle had indicated earlier, the research behind the science of reading has been in existence since the 2000s, so early 2000s. So there is a lot out there that is available for teachers. And to go back and touch on what Dr. West said, you know, as educators, we're lifelong learners, and one of our responsibilities is to stay current. And so one of the ways that we can do that is to go to your respective Department of Education website. For us at GCU, we are located here in Arizona. So we have the Arizona Department of Education website. Doing a little search in there is going to populate a wide variety of trainings that are available. As Dr. West had indicated earlier as well, at GCU, we also have the Teaching in Purple blog, and we have a couple of our recent publications with regard to the science of reading in the images above here. And then there are a variety of books. And so the Shifting the Balance is a great text. Proust and the Squid, another, The Expert's Perspectives on Interventions in Reading. As we've touched on before, we should be using evidence-based strategies, and we should be doing them with fidelity. And so that's a great text to be able to identify some of those interventions that we want to be using. And again, that explicit instruction that we had mentioned before, Claudia had indicated how important explicit instruction was, and so did Amanda. So those are highly encouraged. And if you don't want to do the reading on your own, you don't have to. There are Facebook groups that have book studies available there. And then I would also really encourage others to join forces with the other faculty and staff on your respective campuses, or if you are a student, starting your own book study at your respective college campus, and just getting the conversation going, because we need to be intentional. We've got that word again. We need to be intentional about our personal professional development. And, when it comes to the science of reading, we as humans, it's natural for us to speak, but reading and writing is not natural for our brains, which is why we really need to be systemic and explicit and intentional in the professional development that we have, because it's a very complex thing for our students to learn. So these are a couple of those suggestions. Highly encourage you to check them out.
Thank you, Katie. Those are all really wonderful suggestions. GCU has also created some coursework to support a deeper dive into the science of reading using some great insight from our subject matter experts. And these courses, these updates that we've made are for our current and future educators. So we do have all of our initial teacher licensure programs all currently have updated coursework in phonics and the science of reading, as well as coursework in reading remediation and intervention, including dyslexia. So students that are currently enrolled in our early childhood special education, elementary special education programs will see that coursework in both areas, while students enrolled in our secondary education programs will focus more on the reading remediation and intervention, including dyslexia coursework, due to the populations of students that they serve. Students who have already passed this point in their program can also use some of the resources that Katie was speaking to for our practicing educators. And then for our current educators, GCU currently offers 2 continuing teacher education courses. Those are EDU 5600 and EDU 5650. These 2 courses are geared towards our K-12 educators. The first one, EDU 5600, contains our phonics and science of reading coursework, and that has more of a K-5 educator focus, but is open to all educators. And then the second one, EDU 5650, focuses on reading remediation, and intervention, as well as a lot of that dyslexia content. So if, in both of those, there are no clinical field experience hours required, so you are welcome to join as a currently practicing educator, and that would help you apply some of this coursework immediately into your teaching practices. And if you are interested in either of those, you can get more information by taking a screenshot or a photograph of those QR codes on the side here. And as Katie shared, the Arizona Department of Education offers some additional opportunities. So it would be wonderful to check out your own state Department of Education to see what opportunities or information they may have as well. You can also email GCU at coeprograms@gcu.edu for more information on any of the training opportunities we offer here.
Thanks, Katie and Danielle. I know personally I am so excited about the new courses and all of the training that's available on the science of reading. There are just so many free trainings, podcasts. I listen to them often in the car, social media groups, online book studies, the list just goes on. So if you want to know more, there are opportunities out there. Like you said, Katie, we must be intentional. We must seek to broaden our knowledge on best teaching practices. When we know better, we can do better. So here's some additional resources and readings if you need a place to get started on. But I just want to say many thanks to our panel of experts for joining us today, and especially to you, our viewers, for tuning in to part 1 in our series on the science of reading. Thanks, everybody.